All right, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to the You Good Homie podcast. Welcome to episode 23, where today we're going to be talking about situationships and relationships just in time or just past time for Valentine's. We really hope you guys really enjoy this episode. It's been a while since we've kind of touched on any kind of topic like this in a while. A lot has happened in all of our lives and my life in particular too. So we hope you enjoy and let us know what you think. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe on all our YouTubes. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and all that good stuff. And we love all the support you guys constantly give us, even if it's like the one or two listeners that are constantly still listening to us. All right, take it easy, y'all. And I hope you guys enjoy this episode because we really did. Peace.
What are you saying?
All right, y'all, welcome back. I'm sitting on a beanbag chair, and it's a very special episode today. We're doing our Michael Jordan episode 23.
Yeah.
Cool. Damn, 23 episodes of this. That's crazy.
Oh,
all right, Lawrence.
Yeah.
What are we talking about today?
So today on our 23rd episode, we're going to be discussing relationships because, again, we are approaching Valentine's Day pretty quickly, and what a better way to open up the season of love with a relationships episode. But in regards to that, we're actually going to be talking about situationships, which all of us have actually been through.
We can start with the first question because you already picked it from the last recordings. But we'll start with the first question just to kind of start us off of defining what a situational is. In your guys' worldview, what would you consider, describe, or define as situationships? And how would you define the difference between that and a relationship? Ronald, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I can start because I've been in my fair share.
He's experienced.
I think a situationship is like, it's essentially like friends with benefits. So it's like you reap all the benefits of being in like a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. But I think in my opinion, what makes it a situationship is that one person isn't ready for commitment. And so you guys are stuck in this weird limbo of like, wanting to hang out, wanting to feel all these feelings, but then like either one of you guys isn't ready to commit or both of you guys aren't ready to commit. And you guys just don't want to be like in an official relationship where you guys hold that title. And I think that's what a situationship is. It's essentially like whatever situation is keeping you guys from being together. And that's what a situationship is, in my opinion.
Yeah, word. Okay. Lawrence, how do you feel about that?
So that's actually pretty spot on. Because it's basically like I'm going to speak from like I'm going to quote
Personal experience.
I love what we have going on, but I'm not ready for anything committal. And that's basically how I've had a situationship go over the course of like my dating life so far.
Yeah. Have you ever been like told that or expressed that verbally? Yeah.
Yeah. Me verbally all the time.
Oh, damn.
I've always had it where, I'm looking for anything too serious. I like what we have going right now. And then next thing you know, 2 months later, so what are we? Are we still liking how we're going right now? And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
not getting the
bro.
message out of like, they do want a relationship. But we did establish again that we're casually seeing each other. So, I basically had it like that. And Kuya's definition was basically pretty spot on.
Yeah.
So I go with that.
Yeah. I'll tackle like the second part of that question. How would you just define or describe a relationship? I think a relationship is like, it's kind of like an unwritten contract between like the two parties.
That's a good definition. Yeah.
The two people.
I was going to say agreement, so that's really good.
Yeah. In a relationship. Because like, if you make it official per se, it's not like a marriage where you're like actually signing a document.
Yeah, like
you're
official
bound by
document,
law.
some taxes and shit.
But in a relationship, it's like when you're coming from a situation into a relationship, there's just a lot more rules and like stuff that's generally acceptable and generally not acceptable for you to do.
Yeah.
And I guess we can get into it in the later questions. But yeah, that's how I kind of look at the difference between a situationship and a relationship. Like a situationship is like what you said, Ron. It's like you get all the benefits of it's essentially friends with benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like it's like everything is fair game, right? Like there's no, you don't owe that person anything. I would think, unless you
Yeah.
commit, right? And I guess that's the whole point of a relationship, is you're committing to someone instead of a situationship where like, yeah, we're just kind of like hanging out,
Yeah, you like reap
It's
all the
nothing
benefits.
serious. It's nothing serious.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like,
You reap all the benefits of like a regular relationship, but you don't reap any of the benefits of the boundaries of
Yeah.
a regular relationship,
yeah.
which is just tough.
I would say like you're more vulnerable in a situationship or something of that sort, because like if you don't define the relationship, then one person can fall more than the other,
Yeah.
and then that's when it gets tricky. 'Cause then,
Tough.
yeah. That's how I would define.
Yeah.
Like,
You guys mentioned like friends with benefits. Do you, like, would you say a situation always necessarily entails like intercourse and sexual activity, or is that independent or dependent on whether it's not a situation or not?
I mean, I don't think it necessarily always has to involve like sex.
Yeah, like what would you describe like a friends with benefits in this situation? Like, you know what I mean?
I think friends with benefits is a lot closer to a fuck buddy. Whereas like a situationship is like you do like boyfriend girlfriend stuff.
It's kind of like you know how people described it as like thinging back in the day.
I still call it thinking.
It's like thinging.
I still call it
but
thinking,
like adult
yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess like friends with benefits and fuck buddies and thinging are all in the category of a situation.
Okay. So it's like all friends with benefits are situations, but not all situations are friends with
Correct.
benefits.
It's like an umbrella term.
Okay, yeah, okay. I guess that's a great way of looking at it, because like I kind of want to see your guys' input, because like for situations, I think the reason why it's situationship is because of the lack of like the description and the definition, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, what are we, right? And yeah, I guess just to echo like what you're saying about relationships, because I was like, I usually see relationships as like a declaration of like love or romance that two more people like agree to, right?
Yeah.
And like there's like you said, there's no signed contract, but it's like, hey, like, are we official, right? And it's like this it's an oral commitment, right? It's not like a paper on paper, right? So I think that's a great way of looking at relationships. Have any of you guys ever been in a situationship, and what did it look like? Anyone can go at this point.
Let's kick it to Lawrence first.
I've been in a few, but like the worst thing is that they all gone like differently, but at the same time they were again all situationships, right? So actually, let me pass it to Kuya. I need to wrap up all of mine, man. Like, because I've had a few, but.
I mean, we don't have
still ongoing.
No,
by like wrapping them
I
up.
pick the best example.
Okay, I get you.
I've been through
Okay.
like a few where, well, to start, it was always like, oh, we hang out. But I don't know if you guys know what sexual attention is, but I've had it occur every single time.
like
And it
when
was
you're
so
with this
fucked.
person.
Yeah, it's like I'm with this person. We're like, we're just talking. We're just hanging out. It's like the talking stage of like a potential relationship, right?
Yeah.
And we would just hang out. We would go on dates. So I guess it'd be dating, but it would
Okay.
always lead up to like a situationship where usually like my rule again is like, 3 dates, and then we just
And then we
communicate what we
pipe.
are.
Oh,
Like, oh, what are we gonna be? And it's never always like, oh, on like the first or second day, I'm like, oh, I have to pipe, and then I pop the question. You know what I mean? It's like, I get to know you first. We hang out and shit like that, and then eventually we'll have this conversation where it's like, so where do you want to see this going? Not to like overwhelm or anything, but it's just again like I'm all about communication.
Yeah.
So,
I think
like, let me know how it is.
one thing I noticed that when I was, first of all, I was the guy that asked Karen out like right away from first date. I'm that guy. So I mean, and there's a lot of
that guy.
I'm that guy. And I know Karen wanted. She very much expressed after we dated, it's like, hey, I would appreciate if you taken more time, right? And I noticed that like, and I'm not saying I necessarily disagreed, but I remember it's like in my past relationships when I did end up in a situationship, the reason why it was like that is because I took too long. So to compensate, I would kind of speed things up. Because like for you have like a rule of like, hey, 3 days, then we kind of like see where we're at, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, where it's like it's just to make sure that we're making a distinction between falling in the friend zone and actually establishing a relationship. But like, and then if there's that in between, then it ends up being a situational ship. Yeah.
So like usually when I am gauging that type of time into like building up to, again, what are we looking at in the future? It goes both ways. Because again, like, and in my opinion, another rule that I have is like, you're my friend first and then you're my girlfriend. You know what I mean?
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
But my friends have always been, again, of like opposite sex, right? Because it's like, we stay friends until it gets spicy, That spiciness turns into a situationship, right? And then we have this ongoing thing of like, we're going on dates and shit like that. Like we're hanging out, we're getting intimate with each other, right? But we'll never establish the fact that we're in a sense dating, right? And that has basically been like a repeat pattern over like the course of, I'd say dating today, in my opinion, based on my experiences of just, we'll go on 10 dates, we'll hang out with each other. We might even kick it, but we'll never state the fact that we're actually dating because either one, we never popped the question or like, I'm not ready, Did any of the women you were kind of seeing also had like some rules that they had when it come to establishing, or they were just like, fuck it, like we're here for vibes? Yeah, no, it was always vibes, right? Yeah. But the vibes are always so good. But it was like, it was me again. I was like, I don't want a relationship.
No, look at this guy.
Yeah, bro, so bad. And then like,
heartbreaker.
Like, pretty fucking dumb. Because a lot of the times they would actually pass the hint. That would be like, I like you a lot. Or they'd explicitly say, I actually like you as a person, And I'd like to see like a relationship with you. But I'd always be like, I'm okay. I like where we are. It was that comfortability of being like, I'm so used to situationships, or like I like not being in a relationship that I prefer a situationship. And again, that came to bite me in the ass. So
not to keep like your dialogue like ongoing, but in those situations, like what stopped you from like actually making it official? Was it just like, what was it?
I don't know. To be honest,
you don't know.
It was vibes.
I was like, I just don't want to be. I don't want a girlfriend.
Okay.
Like, I don't want a relationship.
All right.
Like I'd like the casual point of it, right?
Okay.
But I had no idea, not considering the other person's feelings, right, or how they felt, being like, I would love something more than this.
Yeah.
Right. I never considered that. I'd always be mentioned, but I'd never be like, I'm down. You know what I mean? So yeah. That's basically like the pattern of my situation.
So you're the one that facilitated the situation.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
You guys really a point guard out here, bro.
10 dates without defining the relationship is crazy.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Before
no lie, I'd be irritated after the 5th date, bro. I'd be like, yo, what the fuck is this guy want, bro? This guy want my pussy or not, bro?
Yeah. Before we get into Ronald, 'cause I feel like Ronald has the most experience. Well, the resume will say.
What the fuck?
I am curious, Vince. Have you had like? I mean, you don't have to go explicit in your personal life, but is there a situation where like you're like, fuck, man, or something?
No, I think all of the relationships that I've been in, like, they all started out as situationships or thinging. Because
hell yeah,
I never really. I took time to like make it official per se.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, based on that, do you think that like there's a difference between like, say, how I was going through situationships and how Lawrence is going through situations than to how you approach them? Because I think that there's a big like difference between those two. Because I think with yours, I think it's like, we're Filipino as fuck. So like, are you like familiar with the term of like courting?
That's what the exact term that was in my head.
What does this mean?
So like courting is like, courting, shout out to my girlfriend, explain this to me, where it's like, where art thou, Romeo type shit. Where it's like, you're very like intentional with like how you like essentially want to establish this relationship with this woman. Mm-hmm. You're very much like, I want to get to know her family. I want to get to know her. Like, I want to get to know every little thing about her before I ask her out and ask her to be my girlfriend. And even then, you guys still go on like multiple dates to make sure that you guys are perfect, like compatible for it. And it's super respectful, super polite, not like how it is now where it's like, yo, after the third date, I'm a pipe and I'm a fuck. And then
I'm gonna get out.
Yeah.
and then either I'm a head out because that pussy nasty, or I'm a stay because that pussy crazy.
A little inflammatory, but sure, okay.
But like in a more polite term, it's just like it's courting is a lot more different than situationships now, because situationships are so informal. They're very much like after the end result rather than the journey.
Yeah.
Whereas courting is all about the journey, and then you build the relationship based on the journey.
I know this is like having off record. I know like Lawrence said this phrase like all eggs one basket. Would you kind of describe courting and like that, where you're putting all effort into one person?
Courting is definitely all the eggs in one basket. Like there is no other basket. Like it's one egg and one basket, and that's all you get.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely ways to do it such that it doesn't seem like, because I the term all of your eggs in one basket kind of sounds
Like love bombing.
a little bit desperate, you know, but courting is like very, it's still, in my definition, a situationship, because it's not technically official. Like you're kind of gauging the interest of the guy or girl you're trying to court, but it's like very intentional in the way that, hey, I'm trying to see how you feel about me. I'm trying to see how I feel about you. Do I vibe with you or not? Before we make it official, because like I think it's a way of getting into like a longer term relationship.
Yeah.
It's very like
It's a method to the madness. Basically.
Totally agree. Yeah.
It's awesome.
yeah. I haven't been in like a situationship where it's like, you know,
Like a modern situation.
situation.
Like in the online like Bumble world and
Yeah, dude.
Grinder.
It's actually just like that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I think in my opinion, dating apps really facilitate casual dating all the time.
No, I think that's not a hot take.
Oh, hell
to
yeah.
say.
Yeah. Like they normalize
In what
the,
sense?
Like they normalize it to the point
Explain.
of where like, you can find your love after, you know, maybe 10 swipes or even like 10 people that you see within that amount of time, just to like try and see, you know what I mean? And again, those are all going to be situationships. I don't even know if they'll be courting, you know. In my opinion, I prefer courting over like situationships at any time, because like being like a CLB, like I'd be down to do like that rather than be like, oh, you know, I'm seeing girl 3 after lunch with girl 2, or maybe like girl 5. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I hate that,
That's crazy.
right?
No, that was me at one point.
And I think these dating apps are usually like, work your way through the ladder of like all these people, and then hopefully,
And then maybe you'll
find the love of your life.
it's kind of like it's kind of like you guys heard the term like shotgun blast?
Yeah.
In the
Just kind
sexual
of like
sense.
shoot your shot, and then
It's a pow,
maybe
pow,
if
pow,
you get
pow.
lucky after like maybe all of these like shots will miss, but maybe if you're lucky, like 1 out of 50.
It's not the quality of the shots, it's the amount.
I was actually thinking that. I was actually thinking that like the whole quantity versus quality argument, like almost like some mating strategies where like one, you can mate with one person, raise like your offspring with that person, or you can just mate with multiple people, and by sheer survival of the fittest, whoever lives. Kind of effed up an analogy, but like both have. I'm not saying one is better than the other, or saying that, you know, they're good. Like these are good, but I'm saying like in terms of functionality, you know, it's like one is more just keep shooting your shot until success. One is putting more resource into one thing so that it can be more successful, kind of thing, right? Is that what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, nice. Oh yeah, sorry, I kind of interrupt you. What? When it comes to situational events, like what? Have you ever been in that, or is that something that you've been well in avoiding?
Yeah, I've been trying to avoid it, because I'm like well aware of like I know there's people argue that there are some pros, but not for me. It's just like I'm biased. I don't want to.
No, that's
I don't want to be in it,
That's
because
fair.
I feel like it's just if that's only what you're looking for, it's kind of like a waste of time, because it's like, yeah, you'll I think we mentioned this in the previous episodes too, like, yeah, you'll I don't know, you'll go on a couple dates, have fun, guys will, have sex and then like, you'll rinse and repeat. I mean, you could do that with your fucking hand, bro.
Yeah, rinse with my hand.
Plus, it's cheaper, and plus, you're less likely to get hurt.
Yeah.
That's facts.
I don't know. This is just my opinion, but I try to avoid it.
No, yeah, that's fair. I think like within our social group, we have had friends that are more like they want something more casual. And yeah, for me too as well. I've always favored like, hey, I wanted something more official, commitment, or more clear about what we want. And yeah, that doesn't entail usually like monogamy and stuff. But like I understand, like for me personally, it's like, it's the corny term of like to each their own. It's like, I understand that there's different ways of loving, and I'm not here to necessarily say that my way is better. But yeah, if I were to argue in terms of like utility, in terms of avoiding like messiness and drama, I'd rather just focus on one person at a time.
Yeah.
That's because that's what serves me. Now, that's not saying that like if you're a multiple person dating person that is not necessarily messy. As long as boundaries, then you're chill. But Ronald, I would love to hear your take. Like, what's your story with situationships?
So I think my experience with situationships, and I've talked about this with Beacon in a while, was kind of like toxic because I think I was always trying to go into these like dating apps and like casual like apps with the intention to like really try to find a serious partner. And I think I'm a full believer now that like if you are on dating apps, I don't think you're really ready to be fully committed. Mm-hmm. I know that there are exceptions to the rule, but I do think that like just the amount of options that are in front of you really compromise your values and what you really want to look for in a person. So I think that's like more often than not, when you meet someone off a dating app, it becomes a situationship because one, like they may not be the person that they actually say they are. And two, like you have so many options. Like they're like just like biologically, like when you see all those options, like you get enticed to like see like, oh, maybe this next girl that I just matched with is like better for me because she's prettier and she has the same interests, but she's probably has all the same problems that you're seeing with girl number A, right? So it's like, I think that like just dating apps in general perpetuate situationships. And I think that like situationships, if like you're in the right mindset, are like healthy because it kind of like helps you realize that like you can't, it's not healthy at the time, but it's healthy in the long term because you realize like, shit, this is really not what I want. Like, because I don't think anyone who's really looking for a serious relationship is ideally looking for that type of thing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like all the benefits of a relationship, you get the crazy dopamine rush, but like you guys haven't set any boundaries. So it's like both of you are just kind of fucking around at that point. Yeah. So like it just becomes wasted resources where it's like you could be investing so much time and effort and money into someone else who actually like appreciates you and actually like likes you for you. You know what I mean? And not for your dick or pussy or whoever, like if you're a guy or a girl, right? Or,
what is it? Yeah. Cause I myself have never actually been on any of these like dating apps, but I mostly like learn, or I guess like, listen vicariously, how someone's situation. I know one situation where one of my old coworkers was like simply had, I think it was Bumble or Tinder. I think it was Tinder. Simply just for a booty call. And then like after like so many, booty calls, she met one guy and then next thing you know, they're married and they've been married for I think like 5 years. So
nice.
Like you said, there's always those exceptions, but I think when I listen to a lot of people who are in dating apps, it's you try to be polite. It's like, dude, like, it seems that usually the person that you're listening to is very unsure, and then the people that they're seeing they're also very unsure about what they want. So I can imagine that it can be very, very hard, but I guess I can imagine also that if you're someone who maybe is always busy, like, I don't know, let's say you're an engineer, and you're clocking on overtime, right? And you're trying to meet people, like, and you don't really have any extra hobbies. Yeah, I can imagine dating apps is like the only choice, right?
Which is kind of funny.
Like, it's hard to meet people. Like, I won't deny that. Like, it's actually really hard to meet people in meet space.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I didn't realize this until like maybe later, but like I think like also having a partner like opens you up to new hobbies and new things. This is like more of a side note, but like just about meeting people. But like since having a partner connects you to so many other people, you start to meet people that you never realized were really out there.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you're like, damn, like not saying that I don't love my girlfriend or anything like that, but like if I had met you like a year ago, like we probably would have gotten along, and I probably would have like I probably would have taken actions to pursue you, or I am attracted to that person. But it's like I never would have met you if it weren't from a partner, or I never would have met you if I didn't pick up this hobby. So I think like just meeting people in meet space is actually just really tough when you don't have like a solid group of friends or like hobbies and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, for that engineer who, you know, is working that like 9 to 5 and like doing a hella overtime
Or 9
and
to
doesn't
9.
have
9 to
yeah
9.
and doesn't have like extra hobbies, like it's hard for them to find. So I understand why dating apps would be like an out for them. And not to turn this into a dating app like episode,
Well, it's related to situationships. So
It's
yeah,
very
yeah.
relevant too.
but like yeah, it's dude. And you know what's also crazy about dating apps, bro? They like I get this to like DLC, bro. They make you like they put all of like
DLC.
they put all of like the most attractive and the most and the people that you're honestly a really
Paywall.
great match for behind a paywall.
That's
it's like,
so
bro, you
fucked
got
up.
paid DLC to find the love of your life, bro.
I've heard anecdotally that the reason why like most people who are looking for something serious and can't really find the means to meet people usually have the idea that if someone is willing to pay for the app, it means that they're taking things more seriously, right? As opposed to if you're doing it free, right? Like for example, like I guess like buying food versus getting the food for free, right? You know,
Yeah.
like if there is a meal, if you bought the food, then you can have more certainty that you actually want that food. But if they got for free, it's like, oh, they maybe only took it because it was free, right?
It's a good analogy.
So I'm assuming dating apps kind of work in that same kind of way, where it's like, I don't take this too seriously because it's literally just,
It's free.
It's $0 to participate. But if you're someone who takes it more seriously, I can imagine that you would probably invest some like in anything, right? Like you invest time, energy, resources to. So yeah, and like I can imagine that the quote unquote the DLC, the good people are the people who are more the people who are
Unlockable characters.
the unlockable characters that's like there's a silhouette. The people that are actually more serious and are looking for something more committal would probably be under a paywall. I can imagine that would be like the case. What is it? I'm gonna ask another question. Is that all the question? I swear I wrote fucking more.
There's more.
There's more. Let's have a look.
I'm just gonna take a look. I think this question. Do you guys believe at love? Or sorry, do you guys believe in love at first sight?
Hell
And
yeah.
What would you describe as love?
What is love?
Baby, don't. Sorry.
I'll take this question. I'll take this question. Dude, hell yeah. Hell the fuck yeah. I believe in love at first sight. Granted, I don't think that it is as strong as like the love I feel now for my girlfriend, but it was like definitely love at first sight, because I think that like as just dudes in general, we like tend to put a lot of weight behind appearance, but we also tend to put a lot of weight behind like the first conversation. And like you can like, and it's like girls talk about icks all the time, but I feel like guys tend to act on their icks a lot more, to be honest. I think they're
Like, what do you mean by act by icks? Like,
I think that they get put off pretty quick, especially in a conversation. It just depends on. Okay, actually, I take that back. Actually, there's a lot of dudes who just act purely based on how they look. So I do believe in love. Coming back to the question, reeling it back to the question, I do believe in love at first sight. Honestly, like. And how I would define love is more of a. Actually, no, I don't believe in love at first sight anymore. Oh wow, my girlfriend making me think, actually, because like at first, to be honest, like I would definitely believe it. I think that's why I was like so. adamant about it.
I think the question kind of like, because it's easy when you read the first question, you're like, okay, yeah, I definitely do believe it. But when you like how to define love, it's like, okay,
Yeah,
but
you're right.
was that really love? That's the reason why I kind of include that, not to kind of have a bias towards it, because I just wanted to know like what your guys' opinion. But yeah, sorry, like what would you describe as love, Ronald?
Okay, cut a lot of that shit out. But I actually don't believe in love for first sight anymore. I think Beacon. Really,
Oh, you just changed your mind like right now.
Yeah. Well, because I had to think about it. I had to think about it.
fair.
I had to think about it because like at first I was definitely like, yeah, like I believe in love at first sight. But then like as soon as I start to like try to define it, I'm like, no, I actually don't. And I think like Beacon has played a big part in like changing it because she was like, love is something that is a state of. I think it's like more how to describe it as a perpetuity. It's constant. Like it's something that you are, not necessarily something that you feel. And I think that's why like I don't believe in love at first sight anymore, because it's like you can feel infatuation, you can feel attraction, but you are love. Like you are in love, if that makes sense.
The state of being.
Yeah, it's like a state. I actually like because you can still feel a state. I think it's just like something that is, if that makes sense. It's a lot more. Yeah, I guess I would describe it as like a state. Like it definitely like you are in love. Like even if you're mad at that person, you're still in love with them.
Yeah.
Even if you're, even if you absolutely hate their guts at the moment, you're still in love with them. But even if you're happy with them, even if you're enjoying your time with them, you still are in love, and it's a state. It's like a buff, to be honest.
A buff.
It's a buff.
Yeah,
That's such a good way of
I do
putting
like
it.
that description. I actually want like this is the question I was a little more curious. 'Cause I actually want to hear all your guys' answer about this. But yeah, like Lawrence, what about you? Like, do you believe in love at first sight? And like, how would you define love?
Honestly, I'd say yeah. To be honest,
Yeah.
as much as like I have been infatuated, right? Especially on like first interactions. Oh my god, I'm like, yo, this is my wife, bro. This is my wife.
Or anything about marriage and stuff?
I initially like not to like love bomb or anything like that. I usually
Of course, yeah.
I'm like, if I were to look into like a future or like a relationship, and again, everything takes fucking time, so
Yeah.
can't really be like that. Like, is this does this person have the potential to be in a long-term relationship? And if I can personally feel that and have that quote unquote buff, then I'll be like, all right, that is love at first sight. Because again, love to me is a reciprocation of energy that feels right. And I can't define that for all of you, right? Because my right energy could be like, we always have good conversations,
Different
or
for
like
everyone.
we hang out all the time, or like we have really good like interests, like we share the same ones, or they force me to be better. You'll have all these feelings, but again, your right way of love will always be different, which again will also pertain to love languages, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I do believe in love at first sight.
And it's an exchange of
Yeah.
I love that. That's a beautiful definition.
Basically, yeah.
What's you, Vince?
Yeah, I'll answer this by answering the second part of the question.
That's fair,
First.
yeah.
What is love? I think I agree with all you guys' answers. I'll add on to say that I would say love is more of like a choice.
Yeah.
So you see like this person, you see them at their best, at their worst. You guys are fucking fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they decide to disappear for like a couple days just to have some time for themselves, or they do something that you don't like and you still love them. And it's not like, yeah, I agree, it's not a feeling. It's not like, oh my gosh, I really love this person, blah blah blah. I think it's just like I don't know, like you care about this person, and like, yeah, it's hard to describe.
You just are, bro.
You just
Like,
are.
you just
are.
are.
Yeah,
It just
I
is what
agree
it
with
is,
that.
yeah.
I agree with that. It's like a state. It's a state of being.
But I feel like it's understating it just to be like.
I know, right?
It's a buff. Like I don't know how to describe it. Bro.
Yeah, it's
I love your guys' answer. It's pretty good.
yeah. It's for me, like the one thing when I read this question before I came here was like, what is love? Love is a choice. Like you choose to be in love with someone, because the first time you see someone, the first few dates, yeah, you'll feel like, oh, like I really like this person, like they're really pretty, or they're really handsome, or and I don't know, like I really vibe with them. But after a few months, a year, a few years, that, you know, that
Fire.
infatuation, it just naturally fades away. You know, like people change, appearances change, life situations change. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like your partner could suddenly get into a car accident
Yeah.
Yeah.
and be fucking paralyzed for the rest of their lives. Would you still love them then?
Yeah,
That's
totally,
love, because like
totally.
that, you choose to be there for that person. They're not going to be the same after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So after that answer, do you believe in love at first sight? I don't think so. So I think love at first sight, or like infatuation, I think that's just like,
Infatuation.
I think that's just like,
Yeah.
in the more extreme case, I think that's just lust.
Oh yeah.
Like you see this person,
Damn,
like,
ramen noodles, you know?
bring me back to the dating apps. Like you see this person, like you're swiping. Oh, like she looks really cute, or he looks
Fine as
really
fuck.
cute. You know, like I'm gonna swipe. Hopefully they match with me, and like hopefully we vibe. But then yeah, like how do you know? How can you say that you love this person if you've only spent a few hours, right? I don't think love happens in a few hours. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess the answer, I don't believe love at first sight. It takes time for that buff to
The buff to kick in, bro.
For the buff to kick
There's
in.
a hella cast time. It's a crazy.
it's a hella cast time, bro. Yeah.
Oh, that's fair. The question of what is love has always been like a puzzling question. Like I don't know if you've ever seen like those like street interviews where like people, usually it's like something more like provocative, like, oh, what's your body count? But sometimes you do get some stuff like, oh, like what is love, right? What I've noticed about like people is that a lot of people use the word love semantically different in certain situations. For example, if I'm describing like a love between a sibling to sibling, parent to child,
Yeah.
or love between partner to partner, they're usually emoting or communicating like connection or like some synergy. But you can emote love as in desire. When I say I love you, you know, in Spanish it's te quiero mucho, right? It's saying I desire you, right? You can also say love as in care, like make these cupcakes with love and delicacy, right? Where you're communicating, you know, to take it with care, right? And also see love as a property. So when you say good morning, my love, you know, it doesn't necessarily have a definition, but you give her a label and you kind of attach a bunch of like schemas to that person that are like very positive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like for me specifically, for the most part, I don't really believe in love at first sight. Because for the most definition, or the common definition I usually use, is usually that the connection. And I think connection usually takes, like you said, time, right? And I think in order to build that like relationship or connection, it takes some sort of time. But if you were to say like love as in desire, like, oh, I love that thing, then yeah, absolutely. I think you could, technically speaking, by definition, like you are love at first sight, right? But I think one thing I usually have like maybe disagreements is that, are you in love with that person, or are you in love with the idea of what that person might be, right? Someone can smile at you and, you know, they can be very sociable, right? And you can maybe have a bunch of ideas like, oh, maybe they're very friendly, they're kind, you know, maybe they're a wonderful wife, right?
Maybe they like me.
But again, it usually comes with the assumption that you're in love with like this idea of who they could be, as opposed to who they are, right? And so for the most part, I usually don't really agree with the belief that you can love someone at first sight. I usually think that it takes some time to establish that. But yeah, like the question of love is a very fun question because everyone has a different answer. And I love to see you guys' response. For you guys, do you agree with the following statement? You can only learn to love others if you learn to love yourself.
Facts. That is a very factual statement.
And why so?
And I think, I'll answer this question. I think I didn't really understand it until like I truly started to like really love myself. And like it was something that kind of like it kind of didn't dawn on me until my mental health got a lot better, and I started having a lot better of a positive image about myself and really starting to love myself, because you can't really we describe it as a state and like as a buff, right? So you can't really be in that state if you're already in another. I think that like to be in love, you kind of got to be in a neutral state where you are pretty secure with yourself and you are like, and you do have those tools to really love yourself, because there isn't, if you're basing love off the best example, which is yourself, how are you supposed to love that other person when, you know, the example for love for yourself is already flawed, right? So
You
I
have a
do
model
think-
of what love looks like.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
when you know how to deal with yourself, you know how to share with others.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, if you're putting out that model of love that is pretty much flawed, then you're not truly loving that person because you don't truly love yourself, right? So it's like, if you are living constantly not loving yourself, then I don't necessarily think that person feels like the not necessarily the right type of love, but the love that can be experienced to the fullest between two people, right? So yeah, I think that you can display qualities of love, things that are close to love, but in order to truly love someone else, you really need to love yourself.
All right. Once you learn, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, so it reflects a lot, right? When people are looking for partners in like the dating age nowadays, they really look at like how the person looks and how they operate, right? And if they can see that, oh, they do show that sort of self-care and like love for themselves, then that's again actually like more appealing to other people in that moment. It can even be said for friends too, right? Like if you have like a friend that's in like that has really poor mental health, would you still be able to like show love for them if you can actually know that they don't actually have that love for themselves either, right? So I guess I could even say it helps to have that appeal for yourself as much as it would for another person. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's a really good reflection too. I'll always like say that again. I do agree with this statement.
Nice.
Yeah. I really don't have anything else to say.
So I asked
It's just loaded. It's just a loaded question. I'm
very
like,
loaded
fuck.
question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll go to a casual one after this.
No, it's all good. But like, yeah, but the statement does resonate a lot with a lot of things that we can see nowadays. And yeah, learning to love yourself is definitely a journey that you have to go through with before you can have like probably, in my opinion, one of the best relationships of your life when you do have that balance.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I agree as well. So I think we've mentioned this in the other episodes, but like if you don't love yourself, you're not comfortable in your own skin, and you try to love someone else, you're always just kind of like looking for validation from that other person. It's like, oh, am I enough? You know, am I giving you is what I'm giving you good enough? And then that kind of makes them feel good about themselves, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of tough in that way, but I can also see like a variation of this statement where
It all depends
says,
how you
like,
define love.
You can learn to love others while learning to love yourself. So an example of that I would say is like someone who's too, I don't know what's the proper word, like someone who's too giving, someone who's too
Love bombing or simping or just like to do
not really simping, but like
Someone who's too selfless.
selfless, like someone who's too selfless. And if they have a partner who does kind of like have more of that love for themselves and knows how to set boundaries, if that partner is like, you know, really loves that selfless person, they can teach them to be like, hey, you know, you can set your boundaries.
You can
like
be
you are
selfish,
good
bro.
enough. These are your good qualities, and have that like kind of encouragement from the other person, because sometimes that's all you need, right? Like
Need that encouragement.
sometimes you can't do it yourself. Like loving yourself, it's hard because it takes a lot of self-reflection, which people are. It's like tough to do, right? For some people.
Yeah.
So it takes some encouragement. But yeah, I definitely agree with this one. I had something else, but I forgot it. But maybe I'll
No worries. Yeah, I can imagine if you're someone who's maybe, we'll call them a giver, whether that be like a people pleaser. Because I know there are some people who have like, and not to sound like maybe bring the mood down, but there's some people who have like some self-hatred themselves.
Yeah.
But seeing someone they love, they are willing to do anything for them, but they don't necessarily have any love for themselves. I don't want just to be like a contrarian, like, oh, I'm going to disagree because I like whatever. But yeah, I'm not necessarily convinced from the statement. I think what to echo Ronald's statement though is like, I think you can learn to love better once you learn to love yourself. I think
That's true. That's
learning how to
facts.
give, learning how to like boundaries, learning how to communicate emotions healthily, not just with other people but with yourself, I think is a good habit that you can kind of do with other people. It doesn't necessarily need to be like if
it doesn't need to come first before.
And like this is not to encourage people to like who maybe have some issues just to jump in a relationship and hoping that things will fix itself. But I definitely think that like there's no such thing as like being perfect or fully loving yourself, because like we said, in terms of a state of being, that's not always constant. There are times where you wake up like, I fucking hate myself, right? And that's very normal to feel, right? So like there are times where I definitely believe that you could love someone else without necessarily having love for yourself. But I would encourage people to always seek self-love, and I think that would really translate in a healthy way when you kind of engage with your relationships.
Yeah.
Let's ask a more fun one. Let's see. Okay. If you were romantically engaged with someone, but you two were not official, and it felt like the relationship could lead to somewhere, but they were also romantically engaged with someone else, would you consider this cheating? Why or why not?
I want to start this. I think it's a matter of just holding that.
Shake my hand.
Yeah. You just have to hold that, bro.
Like, hold
I'm
it?
sorry. Yeah, dude, like, neither of you have communicated like, oh yeah, I'm down for something serious. You're the
Only one second. Sorry.
you're the only one in my life and shit like that. And you find out they're seeing someone else. I'm like, yo, you both did not.
It's on you.
Explicitly say like either of you, right? Because I gave them the idea to be like, oh, I can go see other people, and you were like, oh, I'm only for them, and they should know that, or they would know that, right?
Yeah.
Would you consider cheating though? And
No. There's literally no boundaries like
No.
that were established at
Yeah.
all. Like you both gave each other the idea, we're openly dating, like
Yeah.
on the open field,
Yeah.
right? It's not even. It's like polyamorous, right? Like
Yeah.
with other people. It's not even that.
Not even polyamorous. It's just casual.
Yeah,
Like,
casual.
literally,
Yeah.
there's no
That's the
commitment.
definition of
Because,
casual dating.
At the same time,
yeah, there's casual and competitive dating. Like,
Gotta climb the ladder. Gotta hit some elo.
because within that moment, honestly, like if that person were doing that and you did it right back, they would be okay with that. If they're automatically like, oh yeah, let me start seeing other people while I'm in a situationship with this one person, give them the okay, right? And again, I'm always say this like, yo, UGH is huge on boundaries and communicating them. This is an obvious example of like,
Obvious.
damn,
Obvious example.
Super obvious.
shit,
Yeah.
oh, I'm hurt,
yeah, I think
not good.
like
I'm not good home.
no, I agree with you with like you kind of have to hold that, because like yes, technically speaking, like it very much quote unquote implied, but you're coming with a lot of assumption, and also what we said about assume.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when it comes to this kind of situationship per se, if you're not really like, hey, this is like what I want to do, then like you kind of have to, shake her hand,
Yeah, like
Yeah.
fuck, sorry.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. No, this is actually this has happened to me before. What's it called?
I think I remember.
Yeah, I was in a situationship with this girl, and like we had been seeing each other, but I had made it very clear that like I was only really like casually dating. I was still exploring my options, and we were allowed to see other people. And then like we talked about it a couple of times, but I remember she came up to me and I was like, hey, like, yo, what's good? Like, how's your day? And she's like, yeah, I actually like went to go like out on a date with another guy, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like that's dope.
Damn.
Like, no. I was genuinely like, oh, like that's cool, that's dope. Like, how was it? And she was like, oh, like you're not mad? And I'm like, no, like why would I be mad? Like we were
Because
just
you defined that you
Yeah.
guys would be able to see other
exactly. And I was like, not gonna lie, I had like 4 of the girls on the side, but like
people. Yeah.
it was just like with that specific situation, she was looking for a specific type of emotion, like some type of like boyfriendly emotion, and I was like, no, like
We
I
didn't
told
define.
you
Yeah.
like it's casual, and I told you that maybe there in the future that there's some if we get along enough there's some potential for a relationship, but I like it's casual, like you can see other people, like I never said you couldn't.
Yeah.
And I also said like And I also said that like I am also seeing other people on the side, and I made it very clear with you. And so it's like, yeah, at the end of the day, they just gotta hold it. Like both of us have to hold it. Like even if I was feeling some type of way, like I would just have to hold it.
Yeah.
It's like there in this situation, specifically for situationship, there's no boundaries set.
No.
You guys are still reaping the benefits emotionally and like possibly physically. But like there is no boundaries set, so you don't get to get the benefits of like a regular relationship.
Yeah.
Like it's like you literally have to hold that until you DTR, define the relationship.
Yeah, you can enjoy the benefits, but you also have to be prepared to suffer,
To suffer the consequences.
Yeah,
The consequences. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could compare. Sorry,
No,
you
go ahead,
keep
go ahead.
you keep talking.
Okay. I think going back to my definition of a situationships, where it's like, our relationship is kind of like an unwritten contract or something. Like
Yeah.
in this case, there's no contract, there's no rules, so it's like it's like
no rules.
the fucking wild West. Like there's no
It's Galaxy Land, yeah.
like
Yeah.
With no
like fair,
seatbelts.
like fair is fair. Like
Game is game.
Game is game.
Game is
game is game.
it's like in unrated or normals where people like
Facts. Where
cheat
people can
or-
just
or
people
they
can just
smurf.
call. People can
Like
just smurf.
you
Call
can't be
lanes,
mad,
bro.
man. It's not right. But yeah, that's kind of what I think. Like, yeah, it's not cheating. Like you got yourself into this situation. I would consider it a little bit more, not necessarily taboo, but kind of distasteful if you did.
Disrespectful.
If you did kind of like define
Yeah.
that, hey, like I know this is casual, but it would be kind of like hurtful if you saw someone else. At least tell me.
Yeah.
It would suck if you found out through someone else.
Yeah.
But-
and you were ready to go exclusive. You know. What I
Yeah.
mean?
If you were ready, like, but still, it's still not cheating because you guys didn't define the relationship. You didn't
Yeah.
make it official.
They're allowed to do whatever they want until they define the relationship.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Is there a situation where you guys were in a situationship? I don't know why I say situational. A situationship where you really wanted to make it official, but for some external factor you couldn't. Like, has that ever happened to you guys? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, how did that look like?
My top four, bro. Like, oh,
Top four.
my God. Top four?
The one that got away.
It actually was that. Like, I've had so many situations where it was always the one that got away or I waited too long,
Yeah.
right? Sorry. This question.
I just asked a random question.
Oh.
Yeah, about like,
So,
is-
where it was close to
were
actually?
you wanting it to be a natural relationship, but just for some reason it did not work out? And I'm asking, like tell us a story, like why did it not work out? Or
Like there was no like the best situationships I had were like the ones with no sort of sexual interaction, like it's like genuine. I call that love in that moment.
Damn,
oh my God,
that's tough.
Like it was insane. Like the vibes were always good. Communication was there, and I had no idea how crucial that was because like coming out of my last relationship, also it's like I need to communicate. I need to know what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And every time I interacted with the people that I was seeing, it was just always enough. You know what I mean? I didn't need to know more. And I always gave them like just the right amount as well, right? It was always reciprocated. And within these situationships, it was always like, it was me. It was always me being like, I like where we're at right now. And maybe in the future, if like it does last that long, then I'd like to look into a relationship, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't understand how like pacing would go as well. Cause again, just brand new into the dating scene, right? I'm not gonna find out that, all women like 2 or 3 months or like they like a month of like straight interaction with me before they're like, oh yeah, let me start thinking about a relationship, right? It was different for everyone and I could never figure that out. Right? So I'd always be like, my definition of my DTR was like, I like where we are and like I wouldn't like it to change, it's just all good, you know what I mean? When in that moment, like if I really thought about it, a relationship at that time, if I really did want it, would be great. But it always is a case like for me, and it's pretty fucking proud. I feel like I'm cursed. Sometimes it's always the one that got away.
yeah, it's almost like emotionally, it's like a stab in the heart.
Yeah, it
It feels like your heart's heavy.
Yeah, in that moment, I was like, fuck, like if I were to like, and in that moment too, if you don't get it the first time, you'll never get it again.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
had to figure that out.
And
That's
So,
crazy.
it was so
that
fucked.
one's crazy.
I can
Like,
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I can imagine in hindsight, you probably ask yourself like, what can I have done better? Because I know, like for me, at least, like my very first girlfriend, that was like we dated for a very short time, and then like she dated other people. I was still single, like, and this was like my first girlfriend, so it was very awkward. But it was like, yo, I really wanted to work, but just like some external factor, you know, whether she was on and off, I was on and off, right? And like it's like, I think after like, again, like we were dating, but there was a point where like we weren't dating, and so we broke up again, but we weren't actually dating, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, what can I have done to make it work out? Like, and of course, I was like a kid, right? So like when things like that happen to you, you're like, you know, it hurts a lot. It hurts a lot more, right? But I think for me specifically, like it, I'm very thankful because now I know what not to do, and when I'm put in that situation. And of course, like, yeah, like obviously, you know, Karen was like, hey, like, I would like if you took it slower. Like, yeah, absolutely. Maybe, you know, I should have taken it slower, but I definitely, I was a lot more successful now, you know? And I definitely think that learning experience of like knowing how to be more emotive with, you know, what I want, so that it's not like we're friends for 3 years and then I'll have to be like, hey, can I talk to you about something? And she's like,
brother.
Like, that's some classic, like, I watch a lot of anime, and that is like a really prevalent theme where it's like these two people who look super good together. They will go through every single adventure together as friends, and they'll never establish that they like would actually be good in a relationship together. You know, through the good and the bad, like they're actually compatible with each other. Right?
Well, even in real life, I find like, and I've heard of a lot of women have a lot of distaste of this, so like where they met a guy and like mentally they're like, oh yeah, this guy is my friend, and we established friend. We've been friends for 4 years. Then like it's been friend.
Yeah.
Everything is friend. And then and then usually it's easy to do. It's like, hey, like,
I've always loved you.
Yeah, I've always loved you.
Like those TikToks where it's like we're guy girl best friends. We keep things platonic. We're guy girl best friends. Yeah. I'm in love with you.
I like a crush on you for like the past like
we just work so well together.
Damn, that's crazy.
I think that's one of the things I usually tell for other fellow men who are trying, like, you know, heterosexual men, I guess, if you are trying to shoot your shot, is that like, I definitely think you need to establish, like, if you want to propagate this into an actual relationship, because once after a certain amount of time, like, you really can't, like, you have to hold that.
Yeah.
Go back, bro.
Like, this is a friend, right? Because like I kind of put it in her perspective where it's like, I don't know, it's like, me and Vince were like friends for who knows how long, and then he just told me he loved me. Like, how am I supposed to take that?
Yeah, he's like, I want to suck your cock.
Yeah, like I always see him as a homie, right? So it's like, dude, like, one advice I usually give to, you know, other dudes is like, hey, like, don't fear rejection. Like, that is something that is always a risk, and it might happen, but like, it's better to, you know, ask or like, you know, try to establish something and then not regret it than before it's too late. And I was like, oh, what if I did something differently, right? I definitely think, you know, being more like, you know, expressive, emotive.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you want, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, as long as you're doing it respectfully, of course, right? But I do find a lot of dudes are very much like, you know, friends for 4+ years, and then like, you know, we know the thing, they're friends, and then just texts the girl like, hey, like, I really need to get something off my chest, and she's like, "Oh,
okay,
bro."
Not this guy.
I've had situations like where that I've actually got where that's like happened a lot, and unfortunately, most of them have gone sour. But like the good one would be, and I'm gonna make an example out of this. Like, I'm not Phineas and Ferb when Isabella's like, "Yeah, I used to have a fucking huge crush on you for like 5 years or 6 years," and she would obviously like put that out, like communicate that and shit like that. And then years later, she's like, "Yeah. I used to like you," and Phineas was like, "Yeah, me too," and they never established that like at all, right? And it was just that risk, where again, like the girl will give off hints, like 100% she will, because I think, in my opinion, and if you're stupid like me, you won't be able to catch the hints at all. But a girl, like women are actually very expressive when they have some sort of affection for another person.
Well,
right?
I do know that there are situations where sometimes like dudes will overperceive when someone's interested in them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like because yes, you could say like, yeah, like I've had some girls say like, yeah, like take the fucking hint, like why are you so oblivious, right? And I was like, and for me, my response is like, it's not necessarily we're oblivious.
Did I-
It's just that like there's been times where I've been like certain like, hey, this is a thing, and it's definitely not a thing, right?
Yeah.
And like you don't want to turn like riz to harassment.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to be a creep, right? So it's like it's safer to assume that nothing is going on than to make things awkward and make her uncomfortable, right? But then again, like there's that risk of like, hey, like I need to actually shoot my shot, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, is she into me, right? And like you constantly have to, because the thing about people is that you can't read someone's mind. You have to pay attention to behavior and infer information about their mind. Yeah, like you have to catch social cues. And like if you're awkward and you can't really like catch social cues, like bro, like you are not gonna have a good time when trying to find a significant other.
exactly.
Like it's gonna be very hard for you. Yeah.
But you also shouldn't be like keep it creepy.
Sometimes you'd be like, did I see that correctly? Nah, I must be seeing things, dog.
Yeah.
Unless you display it and you're like, you're kind of in a situation where like, oh yeah, I'm with my girl best friend, and the next thing you know, you're shopping with each other and you start biting your lip, looking at her, you're like, fuck. Shit, bro. Like, I had no idea I was alone,
You're like, damn.
What I find a little annoying is that when they are overly touchy and they're like, all right, and then I'm just like,
oh, that's so cringe,
and
bro.
I'm just like, are you emoting something or am I just over perceiving, right?
Are you emoting something? Or like,
Yeah, and then it's like, it's like, hey, like this is the first time someone's held me since like my mother, like so it's nice that someone is like kind of like showing that expression. So it's like, is she simply being nice or is she into me, right? Which is like something that I personally find kind of
I still struggle
difficult
with
to
that.
assess.
Yeah.
And I'm like, like sometimes I feel like I can read people, but it's like you can never be 100% certain how someone feels about them, right? So it's like when you talk to someone, it's like, are we a thing, or are you just naturally polite about,
Yeah, because she could be like that with he or she could be like that with other people too.
just very
Naturally
friendly.
touchy or something. Like that.
Friendly.
But at the other end of the spectrum, like if she's quiet or he or she's quiet, doesn't mean they don't like you.
Yeah.
True, because like that's what makes it difficult to gauge like when to make your move, right?
Like,
I feel like as
different
guys,
situations for different people.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of guys just don't understand.
I feel like guys take
stupid.
like a formulaic approach to everything.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
this has to happen, and then I will make my move. Or this and this has to happen, or she has to make this sign. I need to see the signs.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're all just astrology.
Because some dudes will take the formula and apply it to every single girl.
Yeah, no,
And it's like, he's like, especially like when we talk to our guy friends, sometimes they'll be like, yo, like, but like when I got with like so and so who's my ex, like she was super like when she was super touchy, like I knew she liked me, but I'm like, you have to think about it. It's like, yo, she was probably touchy with you because she wasn't doing that to anyone else.
Yeah.
It's like you gotta think about like your quote unquote girl best friend that you're in love that you've been in love with for like 3 years.
Shit, bro. Like, you're telling me out now?
like bro, like you gotta realize that like maybe she's just touchy and friendly with everyone else.
Yeah.
Then you as a person, if you really want to confirm that like type of attraction, that type of like, butterfly feeling, then you need to figure out what cues is she giving people that she usually likes.
You need to observe, be observant.
And is she giving those cues? And she's
scientific method.
Is she giving those cues to you? If not, bro, you're so deep in the friend zone that like, dog, you ain't never getting out, bro. Like, don't go up to her and be like, I always loved you. Like that shit ain't gonna fly, dog.
Yeah.
Put a hypothesis and manipulate variables,
It's like,
control variables.
and then once you prove that hypothesis, you didn't ask another hypothesis. Like, okay, how can I increase certainty in such a claim? No, yeah,
Like, what's my next experiment?
I think because when it comes to like romance and like love, and the reason why we're talking about situations is because like you really can't take a formulaic approach to some of these things, right?
Hell no, everyone's different.
No.
Not everybody thinks the same. People are not a monolith, as we like to say. Like people like think differently, they come from different cultures, different backgrounds. So like when you engage with someone romantically, you have to treat it as a case by case basis, right?
By case.
Yeah.
Because like it's easy to be like, and especially like I don't know if you ever like watch another male podcast where it's like love gurus where like women do this, right? They make very bold claims, right? But it's like
Girls are always like this.
and then like a girl was like, we don't do that, and like, yes, you do. You're just lying. And then it's like, no, we don't do that, right? And they're like very confident, like. woman lie, and it's like, okay, I'm like, dude, it's like, no, like,
She's lying, bro. She wants you. She wants you. Just
If
keep
she-
thinking it.
if she says X, Y, and Z, and you're saying Z, A, and B, then like, how do you know someone more than they know themselves, right? So like, you know, and so a lot of times, like when you're trying to get to know what someone likes, and like another thing is like if you're trying to understand like what women like, do you like, for example, if you're trying to learn about group Y, do you go to group X to learn about group Y?
Hell no.
You go straight to group Y, right? So like a lot of times I do find, you know, a lot of these incels kind of like, hey, instead of going to women directly to learn about, hey, what are their preferences, what do they like, they go to these guys who like have this weird conflated view without any like methodology or able to demonstrate that what they're saying is true, and they're just like, yep, I'm like absolutely right. So I think like when handling any kind of romantic engagement is just to take it by a case by case basis, because realistically you can't tell the future, you can't really tell what an individual's icks and, you know, what they like and what they don't like. You know, you have to really like like understand what they want, right? And so like it's very easy for us to do a formula and to assume, but like that's not going to guarantee you like an actual healthy or a successful relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It requires a lot of emotional intelligence, which
Some
guys
dudes just don't.
We don't have.
some dudes
we-
some dudes like I don't know, man.
Honestly, it's so hard to develop. Like, I'm gonna keep it a stack for a lot of dudes. Like, even some, like myself included, sometimes like emotional intelligence is actually something that is really, really, really hard to learn. And it's something that you constantly have to learn, especially when it comes to dealing with your loved ones. It's not even just the women in your life. It's also like the men in your life. Like you need to
Their friends.
constantly change your perspective on why they're feeling certain ways and how you approach them and like stuff like that. So it's like just emotional intelligence in general is just really hard. So like add romance and horniness and lust into the equation. Like it's hard, bro.
What if you believe in abstinence? You know.
Yeah. Oh.
That's just one part of the equation.
Dude, it's hard because I find that sometimes like we said, like especially when it comes to emotional intelligence, when I do sit with other dudes, like, and I know me and Lawrence kind of had a hard in cars, like for me specifically, it's hard to emote, you know, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling at the time.
Yeah.
So trying to unlearn that and trying to apply that to not just a romantic relationship, but like any facet in your life is incredibly difficult if you just never really done that in the first place. It's like, and also like if you're in group, like your group of boys kind of scold you for or kind of like tease you about it, it's like, oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't, right? But like usually one thing I encourage, like, yeah, like, I mean, I'm not saying that you need to be like extremely passive or like not knowing how to, you know, have any competitiveness to you, but yeah, I think there is a lot of utility in just, you know, learning to be like expressive, right? Because I think the reason why a lot of situationships happen is because of lack of communication and lack of willingness to actually express how you feel. Yeah, honestly, right? And it's like, you know, it's like maybe there is some kind of mask you're wearing and you're like, no, like as a man, I ought to behave in a certain way. But it's like, fuck it, dude. Like, do you like this person?
Yeah.
Yes or no? Okay, what do you need to do to propagate a healthy or successful relationship? Just do your thing, man. Like, yeah. Any other questions?
No.
We actually answered all of them, I believe.
Did we? Yeah, I think we did.
We're not getting through all of them.
I think we did.
I mean, there's the last one. Like, what is a good relationship?
That's a good one to end off.
Okay, cool.
good.
All right.
Yeah.
And anyone can go, but for you guys, what does a good relationship entail?
I think like a good relationship entails like understanding, communication, and like a general like honestly like communication and a general understanding of each other. And I think it goes beyond just romantic relationships too. Like I think having a really good general understanding of who the person is and why they'll act in certain ways, and really coming to understand and not being super driven by your own emotions. Not saying that you need to be emotionless, but you also need to understand why they're feeling their specific emotions, and you need to act kind of accordingly almost.
Like active listening.
Yeah. Like active listening. Yeah, active listening for sure. Like for instance, like when and it's like it's so hard to not be formulaic, especially as men. But like when Beacon is acting like a certain way because of a certain situation. It's going to be a lot different than like Kayla, my younger sister, is going to react to that same situation, or how Lawrence is going to react to that same situation. They're all very different and very complex beings. So like I need to put on different not necessarily different masks, but different parts of myself when acting accordingly towards them, and then acting and then feeling certain ways towards them, and then understanding. So I think that like a good relationship is understanding the person to the best of your ability, and then also communicating with them. So it's like, you're acting this way because of this, how can I help? Or you're acting, or like, I don't appreciate the way that you're acting this way. How can we remedy this, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's like the basis to a good relationship, is honestly communication and a general understanding of the other person.
Yeah, nice. I love that. Lawrence, how about you?
I'd say communication. Like, come on, bro. Huge gift. But another one, and this could even be said for like relationships in general, is, I don't know, just the way you both interact with each other and how healthy it is. You know, you constantly push each other, help each other grow, and you both assist in each other's growth as well, right? Which I just kind of already said that, but yeah,
Like being invested in the person.
yeah, like it's always an exchange, you know, not in terms that where it's like transactional, but it's just beneficial for the both of you, you know.
Yeah.
And another one I think would be huge is healthy conflict resolution.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that's a good one.
that in a relationship is actually
Know how to mediate.
fucking
yeah,
insane.
know how to
Yeah.
either find consensus or common ground.
because if like they'll constantly box each other,
Yeah.
and it's just back and forth and nothing gets done. But it's like, oh, let's just put water on it, you know, like let it die down, you know what I mean? And nothing happens after that. I'm like, yo, what's the point in you guys fighting if you're not gonna get anything like potentially beneficial out of it? You know what I mean? So with those two things combined, I think that would make for like not in a sense a perfect relationship, but a really healthy one.
Yeah, I like that. Vincent and Chano, Noel.
Can you go first, Jason? I'm still thinking about
No,
that.
yeah, I know. I was trying to think of an unorthodox answer because
Yeah, me too.
because like I think when you ask someone like what is a good relationship, and tell like
Love, you know, you guys spend time with each other.
Communication.
we give very generic responses, and like we want to like be more specific. Like, okay, but like what does that look like, right? I was having a conversation with Flores about when people get into arguments, right? Where when we're trying to mediate conflict, like you will see that one person, instead of listening, they're already readying a response as opposed to actually taking in what they're saying, right?
You said what now?
One thing I usually advise when it comes to like good, healthy relationships is like the ability to actually listen to what your significant other is actually saying, and then going from there, right? Because I find that for people, and I do find this more so for men who maybe are more argumentative, like they're more of like ready to like, I want to be right, as opposed to try to understand why things are the way they are, right? There's this desire being like, you know, like and especially if you're someone who's defensive, right? You will kind of like ready a defense, ready a position, like, oh no, what about that time you blah, 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 right? But you have to remember, it's not like you versus them. It's like you guys versus the problem, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people, like, I think what our good relationship will look like is when you're able to shift between just like in terms of when you're arguing, that kind of like it's just hostility toward each other, and like how do we move forward and actually able to solve this, like actually learning how to problem solve. Yeah.
I think I agree with everything that you guys have said. Communication is the biggest one for me. And communication isn't just like, for me before, I think communication, what was important about it for me was just like, you know, being able to share my opinion, like give advice.
Yeah.
Right. That was me like younger. But as I've grown up, I've learned that like a big part of the communication is just learning how to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, the things you don't have to say.
The
You know what I
things
mean?
you don't have to say.
Take it to the grave.
Yeah, and also like honesty is a big one as well, but also it's like you don't have to be 100% like honest all the time, like ChatGPT honest.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, like for
There are some truths that are detrimental
Your
to a
parents don't love you, and something very
yeah, something like that. Like you can definitely
like it's true, but that's still fucked up.
there's some stuff that you can sugarcoat and then eventually kind of like have a conversation about it. Eventually,
Yeah, or like at a better time. Right?
time and place.
Time and place.
there's a time and place. Yeah.
Yeah. I think.
yeah.
Sorry, actually, you finish. I'm
No,
sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It was our friend Zia that said, like, what is it like? You can't have comfortable without uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely think like there's sometimes you do need to have the hard conversation, but it's also a bad idea to bring up those conversations when you're like, your significant other is like inflamed, right?
Yeah, or like you already are in like a situation where you're tackling a problem already. You know?
Yeah, one at a time, right? Because I think we talked about this in an earlier episode where like, I think Vince said this where he wanted to solve everything at once,
Yeah.
Yeah, like one, like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
we just want to like get all of it out of
Get
done,
everything
get out of the way so we can move on and move on in our lives, right? Where it's like, it seems more like a like an efficiency task as opposed to like,
It's just unrealistic though.
Yeah.
It's so unrealistic.
but in a relationship, it's like you need to be present with even during the problem, right? So yeah, I definitely think learning how to actually have those uncomfortable conversations, knowing when to have those uncomfortable conversations, and knowing when to like, what time and place, when to do it.
Yeah. I'd also say like a big part of a relationship is just remembering, like, no matter what the conflict and no matter like good times or bad times, like you guys are like a team.
Yeah.
Like no matter what the one person's strengths or weaknesses may be, it's not like a one man or
Band.
one woman
Show.
thing. It takes two, right? Just like the game.
Oh.
Just like a game.
It takes
$3
two
on
to
the game.
tango.
Yeah, it takes two to make a good relationship. Like
Yeah.
if you're, I think we maybe talked about this before, and like knowing, this may be getting off topic, but like knowing when a relationship is not good is when like it's just one person trying, right, and the other person's kind of just like
There.
and just like not giving any input and stuff, and that might be the fault of the other person too, like not giving enough space to that other person. And I've definitely had to learn that in my relationships too. Giving space, but yeah, it's a team effort, lean on each other, and
Lean on me.
lean on me.
Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else anyone has to say?
No, this is pretty good. Pretty covered a lot of the bases essentially.
Yeah, I know we're supposed to talk mostly about situationships.
I think
we covered it.
When I asked like the more philosophical questions about relationships, I realized you guys had more to say. And so I guess we kind of just took more to relationships. But I mean, we do have some talking points with situationships and stuff. But yeah, I guess that's it for today's episode. Thank you guys for tuning in.
yeah.
Please, if you follow us on Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, all the social media garbage, and we will see you guys next time.
Happy
Next time,
Valentine's
happy
Day.
Valentine's Day. Tell your people you love them.
Yeah, and happy Single Awareness Day for those who maybe have no game.
Yeah,
Right.
no game.
Bye, everyone.
You got
Always
it, you
game
got
is
it,
game,
you got it.
guys.
I believe in you.
Peace.
Peace.
Get your buff.